The message came from the edge of known space. It traveled across stars and through the void until it reached the Great Hall of the Galactic Assembly. Every species that ruled the galaxy had gathered there that day. They came to discuss trade and borders and other boring things that powerful beings discuss. But then the transmission arrived, and everything changed. Ambassador Velith was a tall creature with silver skin and 4 arms. He served the Corran Collective, one of the oldest empires in the galaxy. When his communication device started to beep, he looked at it with mild curiosity. Then his face changed. His silver skin turned pale. His 4 hands began to shake. "Play it," said the High Chancellor, a massive being covered in scales. "If it concerns the Assembly, we must all hear it." Velith did not want to play it. But he had no choice. He pressed the button, and the voice of Commander Oryx filled the chamber. Commander Oryx was famous. He had won 100 battles. He had destroyed fleets and conquered worlds. His voice was known across the galaxy as the sound of calm authority. But the voice that came through the speakers was not calm. It was broken. It was afraid, says Commander Oryx of the Corran Battle Fleet 7. "I am sending this message to anyone who can hear. I am sending this message as a warning. We made a mistake. We made a terrible mistake, and now we are paying for it." Static crackled through the recording. The assembly members leaned forward in their seats. 3 months ago, we found a small human colony on a planet called New Busan. There were maybe 40,000 of them. Farmers, miners, families with children. We thought they would be easy to control. We thought they would be useful as workers. The humans seemed so... fragile, so small, so harmless. Oryx laughed in the recording, but it was not a happy laugh. It was the laugh of someone who had learned the truth too late. We were fools. We were such fools. His voice dropped to almost a whisper. They are not what they seem. These humans come from a world that should not produce life. Their planet has crushing gravity that breaks the bones of other species. Their weather includes storms that flatten cities and waves that swallow mountains. Their world is filled with creatures that exist only to kill and eat each other. And the humans are the ones who survived all of that. They are the apex predators of a death world. The recording continued, and Oryx's voice grew more desperate with each word. We captured them. We separated their families. We put them in camps. We thought they would submit like every other species we have conquered. Instead, something woke up inside them. Something ancient and hungry. I have seen many wars. I have faced many enemies. But I have never seen anything like what these humans became when we threatened their families. Oryx paused to catch his breath. In the background of the recording, there were sounds of explosions and screaming. There was a female among them. They call her Captain Yuna. She commands one of their warships. Yesterday, I watched her take a plasma bolt directly through her shoulder. The shot would have killed any Corran soldier instantly. Do you know what she did? She laughed. She laughed and kept walking toward my men. She laughed while her blood ran down her arm. My soldiers ran from her. Veterans who had faced death 100 times ran from a wounded human female because she was smiling at them. The assembly sat in stunned silence. There is a male called Sergeant Minho. He is part of a group they call the Wolves. We do not know much about the Wolves except that they are the most dangerous humans alive. We captured Minho after he killed 37 of our soldiers by himself. 37? We restrained him with our strongest bindings. We put him in our most secure cell. He escaped in less than 6 hours. Oryx's voice cracked. Do you want to know how he escaped? He broke his own thumb to slip out of his restraints. Then he killed 4 guards with his bare hands. When one guard tried to stop him, Minho bit through his throat with his teeth like an animal. No, not like an animal. Animals kill for food or survival. This human killed because we had hurt his people. He killed with purpose and rage and something I can only call joy. The sounds of battle grew louder in the background. We outnumbered them 50-1. We had better weapons, better ships, better technology. None of it mattered. They do not fight like civilized beings. They do not follow the rules of war. They adapt. they learn. They find your weaknesses and exploit them without mercy. And they never ever stop. Oryx was crying now. The great commander who had never shown fear was weeping like a child. They call it total war. They have done this before to each other on their home world. They have burned cities and poisoned lands and slaughtered millions of their own kind. They know how to destroy absolutely and completely. And now they have turned that terrible knowledge upon us. The static grew worse. The sounds of breaking metal echoed through the recording. I am the last senior officer alive. My fleet is destroyed. My army is scattered. They are coming for me now. I can hear them outside my door. They are not rushing. They know I have nowhere to go. They are taking their time because they want me to feel afraid. They want me to understand that I am prey. A massive boom shook the recording. Please hear this warning. Do not provoke the humans. Do not harm their families. Do not touch their children. They may look small and weak, but they are monsters wearing the skin of civilized beings. They are Deathworld predators, and we have made them angry. The door in the recording broke open. Oryx screamed. And then a human voice spoke, calm and cold. Commander Oryx, my name is Captain Yuna. You killed my friend's mother. You put her children in cages? Now, I am here to discuss that with you. The last sounds on the recording were Oryx begging for mercy and a human. Female laughing softly, then silence. The assembly sat frozen. No one spoke. No one moved. Ambassador Velith covered his face with all four hands. The High Chancellor stared at nothing, the scales having turned a sickly gray color. Finally, one of the younger delegates spoke up. What? What do we do? No one had an answer, because for the first time in galactic history, the great powers of the universe felt something they had never felt before. They felt like prey. And somewhere across the stars, the humans were still coming. 3 months before Commander Oryx sent his final message. The planet knew Busan was a peaceful place. It sat at the edge of explored space, far from the busy trade routes and political games of the galactic core. About 40,000 humans lived there. They had come to build new lives, to farm the rich soil, to mine the valuable minerals hidden in the mountains. Governor Taiyun had led these people for 15 years. He was a kind man with gray hair and tired eyes. He had left Earth because he wanted his family to know peace. His wife Sujin made the best rice cakes in the colony. His daughter Nari was studying to become a doctor. They were happy, simple, content. When the Koran ships appeared in the sky, Taeyeon welcomed them. The Koran collective was powerful and ancient. Surely, he thought, they came in friendship. Surely they wanted to trade or establish diplomatic relations. He was wrong. The Koran ambassador who landed was named Vexer. He had cold eyes and a smile that never reached them. He looked at the human colony the way a buyer looks at livestock. He counted the people. He measured their strength. He calculated their value. Your colony sits on land that belongs to the Koran collective, Vexer announced on the third day. You will be relocated to work facilities where you can contribute to our prosperity. Governor Taeyeon tried to protest. We have been here for decades. We have built our homes. Our families are here. Surely we can discuss this. Vexer tilted his head like he was looking at a confused pet. There is nothing to discuss. You are resources now. Resources do not negotiate. Soldiers came that night. They moved through the colony with brutal efficiency. They broke down doors. They dragged people from their beds. They separated husbands from wives, parents from children. Anyone who resisted was beaten. Anyone who fought was killed. Nari was taken to a labor camp in the northern mountains. She was forced to work in the mines, digging 4 or 16 hours a day. She was 17 years old. Sujin was sent to a processing facility where older humans were sorted and evaluated. Those who could still work were kept. Those who could not were left without food or medicine. It was a death sentence given slowly. Governor Taeyeon was made to watch as his people were enslaved. The Koran kept him alive as a symbol. They wanted the humans to see their leader broken and helpless. They wanted to crush any hope of resistance. But the Koran did not understand humans. They saw small bodies and short lifespans. They saw beings without claws or fangs or armor. They thought they saw weakness. They did not see the fire that burns inside every human heart. They did not know about the long memory of human rage. They did not understand that humans had spent their entire existence fighting too. Survive against predators and disease and each other. The Koran thought they had captured sheep. They had captured wolves. Among the prisoners in the southern labor camp was a man named Junho. He was 43 years old and built like a stone wall. His hands were rough from years of farming, but they had once held weapons. Before he came to New Busan, Junho had been a soldier. Not just any soldier. He had been part of Earth's Special Operations Division, a group so dangerous that most governments denied they existed. Junho had retired to grow rice and raise his nephew Do-yen. The boy was 12 years old and had lost his parents in an accident. Junho was all he had left. When the Koran came, they put Junho and Do-yen in the same camp. At first, Junho kept his head down. He worked. He followed orders. He watched and waited and learned. He noted the guard rotations. He counted the weapons. He studied the weaknesses in their security. Then one day, Koran guard decided that Do-yen was moving too slowly. The guard beat the boy with a metal rod. He beat him until Do-yen could not stand. He beat him while the other prisoners watched in horror. And when Do-yen lay bleeding on the ground, the guard laughed. Something changed in Junho's eyes. The farmer disappeared. The soldier returned. That night, Junho waited until the camp was quiet. He crept through the darkness like a shadow. The first guard died without making a sound. Junho used a farming tool, a simple thing meant for digging in soil. He drove it through the guard's skull and caught the body before it could fall. The second guard saw him. Junho moved faster than should have been possible for a man his age. He closed the distance in 2 heartbeats and broke the guard's neck with his bare hands. By the time the sun rose, 17 Koran guards were dead. Junho had freed 300 prisoners. He had stolen weapons, supplies, and communication equipment. And he had sent a message to every human in the labor camps. They think we are weak. They think we will accept our chains. They are wrong. Find weapons. Find each other. Fight back. The uprising spread like fire through dry grass. In the northern mines, a woman named Yoonji organized the workers into fighting units. She had been a teacher before the invasion. Now she taught a different kind of lesson. She taught humans how to kill quietly and efficiently in the eastern farms. A young man named Jiho led raids against Koran supply convoys. He was fast and clever and utterly without mercy. The Koran called him the Ghost because they never saw him until it was too late, and in the processing facility where the old and sick were left to die. Something happened that would haunt the Koran forever. Sujin, Governor Taeyeon's wife, was dying. The Koran had given her no food for days. She was too weak to stand. But with her last breath, she looked at the young humans around her and whispered, "Remember what they did. Remember and make them pay." She died calling out for her daughter. When word of her death reached the resistance, something broke inside the human survivors. Or perhaps something was finally set free. The careful, measured rebellion became something else entirely. It became rage. Pure and hot and hungry for revenge, JUNHO gathered the resistance leaders in a hidden cave. There were 50 of them now, representing thousands of fighters. They had weapons and supplies and burning hatred in their hearts. "We cannot win alone," Junho said. "The Koran have too many soldiers, too many ships. But we do not have to win alone. Earth will come for us. Our people will come. We just have to survive long enough to give them a reason." He looked at each face in the firelight. "And we have to make the Koran bleed enough that the galaxy remembers what happens when you harm human families outside the cave." The first Koran patrol was approaching. They did not know that 50 human fighters were waiting for them in the darkness. They did not know that the war had already begun. The news from New Busan reached Earth on a Tuesday morning. By Tuesday afternoon, the entire planet was silent with grief. By Tuesday night, that grief had turned to something darker. In the Great Hall of the United Human Coalition, the leaders of humanity gathered. Presidents and generals and admirals sat in their seats with faces made of stone. Screens around the room showed images from New Busan, mass graves, labor camps, children in chains, the body of Sujin, the governor's wife, lying in the dirt. For 200 years, humanity had worked to appear civilized. They had hidden their violent past. They had smiled and traded and made peace with alien species. They had desperately wanted to belong to the galactic community. That desire died in a single night. Admiral Hai-Hyung stood at the center of the hall. She was a small woman with short gray hair and eyes that had seen too much death. She had commanded fleets in 3 wars and lost her own son in the last one. When she spoke, her voice was soft, but every person in that hall felt the weight of her words. 40,000 of our people, she said. Farmers, teachers, children. They went to the stars seeking peace. They found slavery and death. She pressed a button, and the screen behind her changed. Now it showed the Koran Collective, their ships, their armies, their planets. The Koran believe they can treat humans like animals because we look weak to them. They see our small size and our short lives and our lack of natural weapons. They think we are prey. Admiral Hai-Hyung smiled, and it was not a kind smile. They have forgotten our history. The screen changed again. Now it showed human history, but not the peaceful parts. It showed the wars, the weapons, the atomic fire and the trenches and the battles that had raged across continents. It showed humans hunting mammoths with nothing but wooden spears. It showed humans taming wolves and turning them into loyal companions. It showed humans surviving ice ages and plagues and disasters that should have destroyed them. We are persistence predators, Admiral Hai-Hyung continued. Our ancestors would pick a target and chase it across the land for days without stopping. Not because we were fast or strong, but because we never gave up. We kept going when other creatures collapsed from exhaustion. We kept going until our prey fell at our feet. She looked around the room at the silent leaders. The Koran have made themselves our prey. A general in the front row raised his hand. Admiral, the galactic community will condemn us if we attack without authorization from the Assembly. Admiral Hai-Hyung's eyes went cold. Our people are dying right now. Right now, while we sit here and talk about politics, the Assembly had months to help them and did nothing. The galaxy watched our people being enslaved and did nothing. So we will do what humans have always done when no one else will help us. She straightened her spine. We will help ourselves. The screen showed a map of human military forces. 3 massive fleets were highlighted in red. 3rd Fleet left for New Busan 6 hours ago. They will arrive in 18 days. The 5th and 7th Fleets are mobilizing and will follow within the week. That is over 400 warships, each one crewed by humans who have seen the images from New Busan, each one burning with the same rage that I feel in my heart. A younger officer stood up. The Koran fleet is larger than ours. Their technology is superior. How can we hope to win? Admiral Hai-Hyung looked at him with something like pity. You are thinking like a galactic citizen? You are thinking about numbers and technology and proper military tactics. The Koran are thinking the same way. That is why they will lose. She pulled up a new file on the screen. It was marked with so many security warnings that most of the people in the room had never seen its contents. For 50 years, we have hidden our true capabilities from the galaxy. We have pretended to be weaker than we are. We have denied the existence of certain programs and certain soldiers. We did this because we wanted peace. We wanted to be accepted. Her finger pressed a button. Those days are over. The screen showed a single word. Wolves, the Special Reconnaissance and Elimination Division. Officially, they do not exist. Officially, they have never conducted operations on alien worlds. Officially, the stories about them are just stories. She paused. Officially, new files appeared on the screen. Mission reports. Kill counts. Impossible operations conducted in impossible conditions. The numbers were staggering. These are the humans we have kept hidden from the galaxy. These are the predators we locked away because the universe was not ready to see them. These are the monsters we become when our families are threatened. Admiral Haihoon turned to face the assembly directly. I have activated the wolves. All of them. They are already on their way to Corrin space. By the time our fleet arrives, the wolves will have been operating behind enemy lines for days. They will have killed their leaders. They will have destroyed their supply lines. They will have spread so much fear that the Corrin soldiers will be jumping at shadows. She walked closer to the silent leaders. This is not going to be a war. Wars have rules. Wars have limits. Wars end in negotiation and treaty. This will be something else. This will be a lesson. Her voice dropped to almost a whisper. The galaxy will learn what happens when you harm human families. The Corrin will be the example. And when it is over, every species in the universe will know the truth about humanity. She raised her head high. We are not prey. We are not victims. We are not the harmless creatures we pretended to be. We are the children of a death world. We are the survivors of 1 billion years of evolution designed to create perfect predators. And when you threaten our own, we become exactly what the universe fears we are. She turned back to the screen. The Corrin wanted to know what humans are capable of. In 18 days, they will have their answer. And I promise you this, they will wish they had never asked. The hall was silent. No one argued. No one protested. Because every human in that room felt the same ancient fire burning in their chest. The same protective rage that had driven their ancestors to fight against impossible odds far across the galaxy. The Third Fleet was already at full speed. 400 ships. Crewed by angry humans, racing toward an enemy that did not yet understand what was coming and scattered among the stars. The wolves were moving through the darkness. Silent, patient, hungry. The hunt had begun. The Corrin fleet was waiting when the humans arrived. 2,000 warships formed a wall of metal and fire between the invaders and Corrin space. Commander Oryx stood on the bridge of his flagship and watched the human fleet emerge from faster-than-light travel. He counted them. 400 ships? Less than a quarter of his force? They're either very brave or very stupid, he said to his officers. Open a channel. Let us give them a chance to surrender before we destroy them. The communication officer tried to establish contact. Nothing happened. The humans did not respond. Perhaps their equipment is damaged, the officer suggested. Then the human fleet attacked. There was no warning, no demands, no speeches about justice or revenge. Captain Yuna, commanding the battleship Relentless Dawn, simply ordered her weapons to fire. The first Corrin ship exploded before its crew understood they were under attack. Captain Yuna sat in her command chair with perfect calm. Blood from an old wound had stained her uniform, but she had refused medical treatment. Around her, her crew worked with mechanical precision. They had trained for this moment their entire lives. Target the command ships, she ordered. Break their coordination. Make them panic. The human fleet moved like a single creature. They did not fight the way the Corrin expected. They did not form lines or follow predictable patterns. They darted and weaved and struck from angles that should have been impossible. Commander Oryx shouted orders, but his fleet was already falling apart. Human ships were smaller and faster than his own. They slipped through his formations like water through fingers, and then the humans did something that Oryx could not understand. They kept fighting even when damaged. A human cruiser took 3 direct hits that should have crippled it. Instead of retreating, it accelerated toward the nearest Corrin ship and rammed it at full speed. Both ships exploded in a ball of fire. Oryx stared at the screen in horror. They destroyed themselves to take out one of our ships. Why would they do that? His tactical officer had no answer. Across the battlefield, Captain Yuna pushed her ship deeper into the Corrin formation. Alarms screamed as enemy fire struck her hull. The ship shook and groaned around her. Image report, she said calmly. Hull breaches on decks 4 through 7. Engines at 60%. Weapons still fully operational. Good enough. Continue firing. A plasma bolt came through the bridge viewport. It struck Captain Yuna in the shoulder, burning through her uniform and into her flesh. She looked down at the wound. She looked up at her terrified crew, and then she laughed. "Is that all they have?" She said, "Keep firing. We are not done yet." On the Korn flagship, the bridge crew watched a wounded human female laughing as she advanced toward them. Several of them began to cry, but the fleet battle was only part of the war. On the ground, the human forces were even more terrifying. Lieutenant Jiho led his squad through the labor camps, where humans had been held prisoner. They moved at night, silent as shadows. Each guard they found died without making a sound. Jiho had been fighting for 18 hours straight. He had not slept. He had not eaten. His body was covered in cuts and burns from a dozen close battles. A normal being would have collapsed long ago, but Jiho was not normal. He was human. And humans do not stop. In one camp, he found 300 prisoners being held in cages meant for animals. Among them were children who had not seen sunlight in weeks. "Get him out," he ordered his squad. "Kill anyone who tries to stop us." A Koran officer ran toward them, screaming for reinforcements. Jiho drew his knife and threw it in a single motion. The officer fell with the blade buried in his throat. When the prisoners were free, Jiho led them to safety. Then he turned around and went back into the darkness to find more. But no one terrified the Koran more than the wolves. Sergeant Minho had been dropped alone behind enemy lines 3 days before the fleet arrived. His mission was simple: kill every Koran leader he could find. He moved through their strongholds like a ghost. Generals died in their beds. Admirals fell during their morning meals. Politicians vanished from locked rooms without a trace. The Koran could not understand how one human was doing so much damage. They assigned 100 soldiers to find him, then 200, then 500. Minho killed them all. He did not sleep. He did not rest. He ate whatever he could find and kept moving. When his weapons ran out of ammunition, he used his knife. When his knife broke, he used his hands. Finally, they cornered him in an underground bunker. 50 Koran soldiers surrounded him with weapons raised. "You are alone," their commander said. "You cannot escape. Surrender, and we will give you a quick death." Minho looked at them with eyes that held no fear. "I am never alone, and you will not kill me. You will die here, in this hole, and no one will remember your names." He attacked before they could fire. The fight lasted 11 minutes. When it was over, 37 soldiers were dead, and Minho was captured. They bound him with their strongest restraints. They put him in a cell with walls 3 feet thick. They posted guards at every door. 6 hours later, he was free. He had broken his own thumb to slip out of the restraints. He had killed 4 guards with his bare hands. 1 guard had tried to stop him with a knife, and Minho had bitten through his throat. The survivors spoke of him with terror in their voices. They called him a demon, a monster, something that should not exist. They did not understand that. Minho was simply a human who had decided that nothing would stop him from completing his mission. Corporal Young-ji led a different kind of attack. She specialized in breaking minds, not just bodies. Her team of 6 faced a Koran command center defended by 2,000 soldiers. Instead of attacking directly, she began a campaign of psychological warfare. She cut their power at random times. She broadcast recordings of screaming in the middle of the night. She left signs of her presence everywhere, but never let them see her face. Within 2 days, the Koran soldiers were afraid to sleep. Within 4 days, they were shooting at each other in panic. On the 5th day, Yunji walked into the command center alone. The remaining soldiers surrendered to her without a fight. "You have driven us mad there," Commander said. "What are you?" Yunji smiled at him with cold eyes. "I am human, and this is what we do to people who hurt our families." The war lasted 47 days. Every single day, the humans taught the Koran a new lesson about fear and across the galaxy. The other species watched and understood at last. Humanity was never prey. Humanity was always the predator. They had simply been hiding their teeth. On the 47th day, the Koran collective surrendered. Their fleets were destroyed. Their leaders were dead or captured. Their homeworld was occupied by human forces who stood guard on every street corner. The great empire that had ruled 1,000 star systems for 10,000 years fell in less than 2 months. The galaxy watched in stunned silence. Ambassador Velith stood in the Galactic Assembly Hall and stared at the empty seats where the Corran delegation used to sit. His silver skin had turned gray from stress. His forehands trembled constantly. He had not slept in days because every time he closed his eyes, he heard the final transmission of Commander Oryx. The doors of the assembly hall opened, and the human delegation walked in. They looked different now. For 200 years, human ambassadors had walked carefully through these halls. They had kept their eyes down. They had smiled and nodded and agreed with whatever the powerful species wanted. They had made themselves small and harmless and forgettable. Those humans were gone. Admiral Haihung led the delegation. She walked with her head high and her shoulders back. Behind her came Captain Yuna, her wounded shoulder wrapped in bandages but her eyes bright with victory. Sergeant Minho followed, his scarred hands clasped behind his back. Then came Lieutenant Jiho and Corporal Yunji, and a dozen other officers who had fought in the war. They walked like what they were, predators who had just finished a successful hunt. The assembly fell silent as Admiral Haihung took the podium. Every species in the room watched her with fear hidden behind diplomatic masks. For 2 centuries, she began, humanity tried to be accepted by the galactic community. We hid our nature. We pretended to be weaker than we are. We wanted peace, and we thought peace required us to become something we are not. She paused and looked around the room. We were wrong. The screen behind her lit up with images of Earth, not the peaceful gardens and beautiful cities that humans usually showed to aliens. Instead, it showed the truth of their homeworld. Hurricanes that swallowed continents, volcanoes that darkened skies for years, earthquakes that cracked the ground open like eggs, predators with teeth and claws and poison, and everywhere, always, the struggle to survive. This is where we come from, Admiral Haihung said. A world that tried to kill us every single day for millions of years. Every human alive is descended from survivors who refused to die. We evolved to be persistent, adaptable, and absolutely relentless. She stepped forward.
Oh.
The Corran looked at us and saw small bodies and short lifespans. They thought we were weak. They learned the truth too late. Her voice hardened.
Ow.
So now I offer the galaxy the same choice we offered the Corran. You can be our friends, or you can be our enemies. There is no middle ground anymore. She gestured to the officers behind her. If you choose friendship, we will protect you with everything we are. We will fight for you. We will die for you. We will treat you as family, and there is nothing in this universe more sacred to a human than family. Her eyes went cold. But if you choose to harm our people, if you choose to enslave our children or murder our families, then you will face what the Corran faced. You will learn what Deathworld humans become when they are angry, and I promise you, you will not enjoy the lesson. She let the silence stretch out for a long moment. The choice is yours. No one spoke. No one moved. Every species in that room understood that the balance of power in the galaxy had just shifted forever. Finally, the High Chancellor rose from his seat. His scales had gone pale, but his voice was steady. Humanity. Humanity has proven itself. The Corran broke galactic law by enslaving your people. We should have stopped them. We did not. For that failure, the Assembly offers its apologies. As Admiral Haihung nodded once. We accept your apology, but we will not forget. We will be watching, and we will be ready. The human delegation left the hall in silence. Behind them, the galaxy began to adjust to a new reality, a new Busan. The rebuilding had already started. Junho stood outside the ruins of his farmhouse and looked up at the sky. Human ships patrolled in orbit, silver dots against the blue. The Corran who had enslaved his people were gone. Some were dead. Some were in prison. Some had fled to distant corners of the galaxy where they hoped the humans would never find them. They were wrong about that too. Footsteps approached, and Junho turned to see a thin boy walking toward him. Doyon was pale and scarred from his time in the camps. He would carry those scars for the rest of his life. But he was alive, Uncle, the boy said quietly. Is it really over? Junho pulled him into a hug. For them, yes. For us? He looked up at the sky again. For us, it is just beginning. But this time, the galaxy knows what we are. They will never make the mistake of thinking we are weak again. On the orbiting battleship Relentless Dawn, Captain Yuna watched the reconstruction efforts through the observation window. Her shoulder ached where the plasma bolt had struck her. The doctors said she would need months of recovery. She had told them she would be back on duty in 3 weeks. Sergeant Minho stood beside her, his hands wrapped in fresh bandages. He had broken most of his fingers during the war and refused to take time off to heal properly. Think they will remember this? He asked. Yuna nodded slowly. They will remember. The whole galaxy will remember. Every species that ever thought about harming humans will think twice now. Minho smiled, and it was a predator's smile. Good Corporal Yunji entered the observation deck with a tablet in her hand. Reports from across Koran space. All resistance has ended. Their remaining military forces have agreed to complete disarmament. Their new civilian government is cooperating fully with our occupation. What about the other species? Yuna asked. The ones who stayed silent while our people suffered. Yunji checked her notes. Several of them have requested immediate diplomatic meetings. They want to discuss new treaties, new alliances. Some of them are offering resources, technology, anything we want. Yuna laughed softly. Amazing how quickly they become friendly when they realize we can destroy them. She turned away from the window and faced her officers. Let them come. Let them offer their gifts and their apologies. We will smile and accept and make alliances that benefit our people, but we will never trust them completely. We will never forget that they watched our families die and did nothing. She walked toward the door. Humanity stands alone in this galaxy. We always have. The difference now is that the galaxy knows it too. Behind her, the stars turned slowly in the endless darkness of space. Human ships moved among them like wolves, patrolling their territory. The war was over, but the lesson would never be forgotten. Humanity was awake now, and the universe would never be the same.